Hey, Bobby Jr. I'm making rotisserie chicken. I just can't. So fine for me. I'm just can't. Hey everyone, so it's been like a hot minute since I've released a actual vlog video. If you guys recall watching that kind of like a quick update video, I recently started a brand new job and it's been really tricky trying to figure out like what my work balance is going to be with creating these YouTube videos. So much like this is probably the first time I'm actually filming again, and I chose to film on like the hottest day in October. So something happened to me pretty like maybe the last 2 months where it's not something that would usually happen. Me and my best friend Roy, we ended up taking second place at a barbecue competition, and it was a bit of a big surprise for us. Roy had asked me to come over to assist him in a barbecue competition that his friend was hosting. This is something that's kind of like a new experience for me because I don't really barbecue that much and I don't really like to compete. But you know, Roy is my best friend, so I am going to assist him in, you know, making some damn good ribs. So a bit of background for this barbecue competition. It wasn't one with like a celebrity judge or anything. This was more of like a family local barbecue. It just so happens that this particular local family, they're kind of famous in the Gilroy area because one of the relatives is like a city council member or even a mayor, I think. And in addition, this was like their fourth one that they did. So some rules that they had for this barbecue competition, it had to be a charcoal-based event. So there wasn't any type of propane, and we were only supposed to be cooking St. Louis ribs. So no pre-marinades, and there had to be like a total of like 5 or 6 ribs that needed to be presented at the very end. The 3 things that they were judging on was flavor, presentation, and tenderness. What me and Roy were using during the barbecue competition, we were using 2 Weber grills. We definitely did feel like the underdogs in comparison to we were also competing against, mostly because some of these other people had some really crazy rigs. It's actually really intense with how much preparation Roy went into this competition. I think overall he spent about maybe 3 weeks to a month kind of like nailing down his recipe, as well as, you know, learning the cooking process.
So they're definitely, they got that smoke color, I guess. No, I'm on that Snapchat video. I mean, they're definitely overdone. Like,
Show them how it falls off the bone.
yeah, like literally, like it literally. Can you do it?
You ready?
It literally falls off the bone. All right, can you grab a rib, please?
Okay, I'm gonna do a rib.
Okay.
So it's already kind of little. So let me try a bite test.
All right. Does it fall off the bone immediately, or is it something still?
No, like you can see the redness around.
Yeah.
The brownness inside right there.
Yep. So that's 2 overdone.
Yeah.
Is it good?
It's good. Your flavors are better.
My fault. Yeah, not these.
So the main
Not
thing
these
today
creamy
was
flavor?
about the cooking part of it, not the flavor.
Yeah.
This was just random spices we used. All keto spices.
All keto spices. 0 sugar. All keto.
Yeah.
But it's more of the control of the
Some
meat
people
to-
do like this.
the fall off the bone type of.
Yeah. I don't know.
I prefer the more of the bite than mine than what I was using.
Yeah.
Roy was pretty much buying a rack of ribs almost every week. So I remember Roy had asked me to come over because he wanted to experiment with the recipes at his house. And I remember I decided to, like, you know, buy my own rack of ribs. And I decided to try out this recipe from the Star Wars cookbook, I think from the Life Day one. And it was actually a pretty decent recipe. I just wish that it was a little bit more detailed because there were a couple of ingredients lists that didn't plate makes sense. Suffice to say, Roy also wanted me to get my own practice so I could better assist him on the day of. And I think I ended up winning in terms of flavor. I think everyone in his family agreed that they wanted something a bit on the spicier side. So Roy sometimes doesn't want to admit it, but he ended up changing his flavor profile a little bit. Pretty much he made it spicier, and when I tasted it on the day of, I could tell, like, oh man, he really took a number from my book. So leading up to the competition, Roy had asked me to like pick up like the ribs, because apparently at the time that this was happening, there was a rib shortage at Costco. And specifically, we did have to buy our ribs. It was like this weird mandate they had at the barbecue competition. And it just so happened that there was, it wasn't like a pork recall, but like Costco was having to change its pork supplier situation due to like something in California's legislation or something. Roy ended up finding like a couple of packs for himself, and in addition to the rib situation, my availability was kind of changing too. Since I was starting a brand new job, I was trying to really figure out how much time and availability I would have in terms of like having days off, and it made getting prepped in Roy's schedule difficult. For example, Roy had asked me to go pick up ribs, but I can't do that right after work because then I have to go home and take care of my fiance and then take care of my dog. And then in addition to that, he also asked me to like move over his own equipment, but I can't do that though because I'm getting off work at like 6 p.m. some days, or at least I'm getting home by like 6 or 7 p.m. So it was definitely like one of those type of situations where I could only help on the day of. I just want to say this right now. People who do these competitions, they take their so seriously. Like, when doing this barbecue competition, which might I add was my first time, I didn't realize how early we would be starting. Kind of reminded me of like a film job day where sometimes I'm working at like I don't know, 6 a.m. Roy definitely really wanted me to be up by 5 and at his place as soon as possible. I think I got to his place around 6 a.m. and we didn't arrive to the barbecue competition place till 7 because we had spent so much time getting additional ingredients that he might need. So when we arrived, we were really just trying to scramble and get everything set up. Like, we had to get our workstation, we had to get a prep station, we had to get a cleaning station, and then also on top of it too, Roy had made the mistake of buying like this tent that was a little too short for me. I think the day prior he had set up the tent and he had to use, I think, old paint cans to kind of prop it up so I wouldn't hit my head against the tent. So pretty much after we had set up the cleaning station as well as the prep station, Roy also set up his 2 grills. Roy used tumbleweed to light the charcoal on fire and get them kind of the coals burning, and then he also made sure to soak some cherry wood. That way we would use that to hopefully smoke the particular flavors Roy wanted, which when we were putting the coals in initially, we made sure they were all on one side. It was also important for us too to make sure the vent that we were using to let the heat escape to be about halfway open, and then the bottom one would be open by like a fifth. Also, this was something that would come back to bite me in the but I learned that vents should be on the opposite side of the heat. So ideally, the vent side of the Weber grills should be on top of the meat. And in addition to that, you need to make sure you have a drip tray filled with water to help you steam and control the temperature that's in the Weber grill. Roy was working at getting his grills to 225 degrees. He accidentally put too many coals in one of them, so the temperatures in it rose to 315, and he wasn't able to control how fast it was burning unless he took out the actual coals. That was like a hindsight 2020 moment that we were kind of like walking straight into. And then in addition to that, we also had to prep our meat too. So as the grills are getting to temp, Roy is having me trim his ribs as well as remove the membranes that are on the backside of them. So this was something that I learned I picked up when we were doing barbecue competition was that whenever Roy was seasoning his meat with his specific dry rub, he would always need to apply a specific binder. I think my recipe that I had used earlier on was used olive oil or something, but Roy had used mustard. And that was something that I learned that just in general, that's something you have to do with all ribs. And mustard is a really good one. I think the vinegar inside it helps break down the muscle even more. And I don't think you get a lot of that mustard taste, so it's definitely a good binder to use. Once we got to temp for the grills and the meat had been sweated at that point, we threw the meat onto the grill with indirect heat. So we threw the ribs on at 8:30. Obviously, we had one rack of ribs on one grill. Roy took the one that had the better temp, and then he gave me the one that had a higher temp for my rack of ribs, which Roy knew that the process would overcook the ribs, and we really saw it towards I think the first time we took the ribs off the grill, because at that point I think we had burnt out both of them too soon, so Roy had to do a refresh of coals to get the temperature up and ready again. And it didn't help that on my rack of ribs that were cooking at 315, I think I had cut off too much fat, so stuff was rendering out way quicker than it should have. And again, it was just burning too hot. Roy made no sugarcoating. He pretty much wanted me there to pretty much clean up all of his messes for the barbecue grill, which making these ribs was a really messy thing. I think the place that we were having it did have an indoor kitchen that we could have used, but I mean, I guess one of the downsides is that if one of us goes to start cleaning up stuff, there's no way for us to monitor the smoking and the cooking of the ribs, so kind of bad. So every 30 minutes Roy would open up the grill to spray down his ribs with some sort of a concoction of apple juice and light brown sugar. So after 2 hours and maybe 2 or 3 spritz, we pulled the meat to apply the second layer of rub onto it, as well as to start layering it on tin foil. This time around though, the rub and mixture was going to be slightly different. We made sure that butter, honey, apple juice, light brown sugar, and the Roy's specific rub too. After we threw the meat back onto the grill, I think maybe maybe an hour later, Roy had noticed that the Weber grill was losing heat, so he ended up having to prep additional 15 coals to the grill to make sure they maintain their internal temperatures of 225 or something. If I remember, he didn't really want to do it this way, but it was the only way we were going to make sure the ribs would cook on time. So after we did the refresh, Roy kind of made a dangerous play. He decided to switch the ribs. So my ribs that were on the hot rack, he put those on the grill that were going to be at the lower temp, and then he switched his ribs over onto the ones on with the higher temp to hopefully even out the cooking process. And because of this whole entire flippy flop of temperature, our ribs ended up cooking probably within 5 hours instead of the 6. So by the time we pulled them off the grill for plating and presentation, it was maybe 1 o'clock, which was at least 1 hour prior. And at that point, we spent that time prepping his plating. He had a bed of lettuce in the shape of a kind of a sushi roll, and Roy's mom had made him flower decorations. I really regret that I didn't get any pictures of it, because they're really cool pictures of him and his meat. It's a really cool presentation, because he was the only one that had actually done the presentation, and it looked uniformed and it made us want to eat the veggies, which was Roy's intention overall. When we presented the rib, we felt like we were at our lowest point, mostly because the temperature thing really up Roy. And for us, we weren't sure if our ribs, we already knew we were probably going to take last place, so we knew that there wasn't a place of return for us. So I think 2 hours after we had turned it in, they came out at 4 to tell us who had won the competition. It was they decided to skip the last place, and they only focused on the top 3, which third place went to the one that had won last year. And when Roy's name got announced, it was probably the biggest what the moment. After we submitted our ribs, and then they were presenting it at 4, we really had a moment of like, what the like, did we actually pull this out? Like, when we heard our names get announced for second place, it was a big deal because, again, we didn't think we'd win, especially since we were 2 guys that this was like our first time actually ever competing in some sort of food competition. So yeah, we felt really lucky. And then also we felt unlucky at the same time because there was only a 0.25 difference for first place and second place. So we also almost could have won first place too if we had maybe gotten a better scoring in like maybe flavor. So it's really amazing too about like what was going on. But yeah, we took second place. Also, it's kind of this weird series of lucky but also unlucky events because it just so happened that the guy who did win first place was sitting next to us. But I guess it kind of worked out in our favor because Roy spent about maybe, I don't know, like 20% of the time talking to the guy, asking him for cooking techniques, asking him for advice, asking him for tips. And he was kind of in a similar boat with us too, because at some point, Roy looks over to him and tells him, yeah, I think I overcooked my ribs. They're going to be done way sooner than I thought. And then the guy looks at him too and says, yeah, I think I f***ed up. And I'm like, holy shit. All right, so again, we thought we had messed up our ribs and we took second place. So yeah. So I guess the big overall question for me is, would I want to do any type of these food cooking competitions again? I would say, yeah, it was fun. I like to cook and I like to present stuff too. And I would love to support my best friend if he ever wants to do that type of stuff. And I personally wouldn't want to throw my name into a bucket to do that type of stuff. But if he wants to do it, yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. And yeah, that's pretty much it with this video. If anyone watching this is interested in cooking with either me or Roy, feel free to comment in the chat and maybe we can make a YouTube video together. And so that's pretty much it for me. I will see you guys for the next video. Bye. Hey everyone, so this is future Bobby recording this right before I post. So I'm a little ashamed to say this, but this video has taken way longer for me to put up than previously anticipated, mostly just because I didn't start recording this until like back in October, even though the event happened back in August. Because of this video and the amount of time it took to complete, I am reevaluating how I make and produce videos on my channel. So right now I'm foregoing any type of video game content as well as any type of toy review, although I might be able to sprinkle some of that in. But at this moment and at how long it takes for me to edit some of these videos, it's just not feasible. Let's see. So for the time being, there's going to be a huge gap from this video to my next one, just because I just don't have the time to edit and post as consistently as I used to. Anyways, happy Thanksgiving everyone, and technically this will be posting on Black Friday. Have a Merry Christmas, and I will hopefully see you guys in the new year. Bye.